All right, Shalom. I want to start off as always, man, by giving all praises and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim, Racha HaKodash, double honors unto the apostles, the elders, and the bishops of Great Millstone. I want to send much love to the brothers out there doing this work in truth and sincerity. And I also want to send peace and blessings unto the believers of the hopeful elect. And real quick in this lesson, man, I just wanted to get into some history in the scriptures, all right, concerning our people during the Greek captivity, in which you had certain Israelite men who were apostates, and pretty much they cleaved unto the Greek way of life. Now, the information that I want to go into is you had certain Jakes back then who were circumcised, who once they committed apostate, they made themselves uncircumcised by a particular surgical procedure that was practiced in the ancient world. And I wanted to get into that information, and then I'll close out the lesson. So I have pulled up here the book of Maccabees, First Maccabees chapter 1. And I'm going to start here in the 10th verse, all right? So starting here in verse 10, it says, "And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year in the kingdom of the Greeks." And if I'm not mistaken, I believe last week I did a lesson on verse 10, and I went into some history on why Antiochus was held captive or held hostage at Rome. And I had the video there up. But getting to the point here, verse 11 says, "In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow." So these were Jakes, all right, Israelites who knew their heritage, who knew their nationality, but these were wicked men. And they were pretty much tired of catching hell. And so they made a covenant with the heathen that were around about them, all right? And at this time, the Greeks were in power, okay? They were the, top nation. Their culture was the top culture at the time. And so Jake cleaved unto that. It says, "So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein," meaning they was all the way with it, "that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen." So these Jakes went to Antiochus Epiphanes IV, and they pretty much got some documents, all right, some court documents, pretty much, to do wickedness, man, after the heathens. Okay, they got permission, license from the king to show and prove that, hey, look, we're down with this Greek culture, all right, and we want some paperwork to show it, all right. Um, this is crazy, but it happened. It says, "Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen." And if you know anything about Greek history, all right, you know that the Greeks, um, they were big on athletic games, all right, which is something that they didn't come up with. They actually got it from the Etruscans, all right. They were the Japhites who pretty much came up with the Olympics, all right, as we know today. The Etruscan people, right, who was pretty much settled in Italy, all right, in Rome. That's where the Romans got their culture from, okay. They got their language from them, how they did things. That, they got it from the Etruscans. Now, the Romans also, they adopted the Greek gods, all right, just renamed them, add some things to it, but pretty much Roman culture comes from the Etruscan people, all right. If you do your research, you will find that, Okay. But yeah, man, they Jake did after the custom of the heathen back then. It says, and made themselves uncircumcised. All right. And that's the point that I wanted to focus in on here. It's the point of them making themselves uncircumcised, right? It says, and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. All right. Now, let's get into this information here, man. All right. This ancient procedure that certain Jakes was doing back then, all right, who was partaking in these heathenistic games, right? The Olympics of the ancient world, and dressing like them, acting like them, talking like them, walking like them, just being demons. All right. Now, this procedure is known as Epispasm. All right. And I have a quick AI overview here. It says Epispasm is a surgical procedure that reverses circumcision. All right. And we know that for us as Israelite men, being circumcised is commanded by the law. All right. On the 8th day, the male son, according to the scriptures, ought to be circumcised. And so Jake back then, okay, who had the law, they had the customs, they reversed their circumcision, man, and made themselves uncircumcised. So they went through a surgical procedure, man, which more than likely was painful as hell. All right. I'm sure they probably try to numb it with, whatever medicine they had back then, or maybe drink wine or something. Who knows? Strong drink to try to like numb the pain. But man, come on, bro. It's very sensitive down there, bro. And to be cutting up on yourself and moving skin, man, that's, bro, come on, bro. But Jake was so forward with it, like they didn't give a damn. Okay. Instead of keeping the most highways, they would rather go through that pain just to be accepted by the Greeks who were Edomites back then. All right. It says also known as circumcision in reverse. It was sometimes used by Jewish apostates during the Hellenistic period, right, during the Greek Empire, when circumcision was considered a social stigma, right? Back in the Greek Empire, if you were circumcised or if you came out, and people saw you circumcised, they would look down upon. It wasn't considered masculine, okay? Which is complete madness. But the Greek thought and the Greek way of life, that was exalted back then. And the people mindset was set on that. If you weren't uncircumcised, or or if you was circumcised, you would look down upon, right? It says Epispasm was unique and unequivocal. Some argue that those who underwent Epispasm did so in an attempt to perform Greek masculinity instead of Judean masculinity, which angered Judean masculinity practitioners, all right, our forefathers, in which that's how you get, the book of Maccabees, all right, with Judah, right, Jonathan. They fought for their heritage, man, all right. They fought to keep the ways of the Most High, all right. But this was a ancient practice, man, that Jake went through, all right, a surgical procedure, man, a painful one, okay. That was tripping, dog. Now, this next thing here that I wanted to talk about is called Kynodesme, all right, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But this was also practiced, okay, during the Greek Empire. And as you can see, it says English translation, it means dog tie, all right. And you got a picture here of Kynodesme, okay. It says was a cord or string, or sometimes a leather strip that was worn primarily by athletes in ancient Greece and Eritrea to prevent the exposure of the glans penis in public, right? Which is a circumcised, phallic. Okay, I use the word phallic for YouTube's sake. It says considered to be ill-mannered. All right, you see that? it was looked down upon. If you were circumcised, it was looked at as a bad thing during the Greek Empire, right? It says, and to restrict untethered movement of the phallic during sporting competitions, okay? And as it says here back in the scriptures, all right, you had Jakes, they built a place of exercise as Jerusalem, man. They had gymnasiums, right? They had the ancient LA Fitness back then, okay? Right? Fitness Connection in Jerusalem, man. In the holy city, Jake walking around butt naked, man. So our forefather was pissed, okay? They was pissed, man. Like seeing a Jake today, who he's a 6'3", 220-pound Jake, but he got on a dress, man, and some heels, a wig, a beard, right? Looking crazy as hell, man. That's how they look to them, But this is what Jake was doing, all right? They was participating in these games and these events, and they was doing this stuff, man. It says it was tied tightly around the acropostian, the still turbulent portion of the foreskin that extends beyond the glands. As depicted in ancient Greek art, the Kynodesme was worn by some athletes, actors, poets, symposius, and comments. All right. It says it was worn temporarily while in public and could be taken off and put back on at will. What the hell? The remaining length of cord could either be attached to a waistband to pull the phallic upward and expose the scrotum, or tied around the base of the phallic and scrotum so that the phallic appeared to curl upwards. All right. So there was, oh my goodness, and look, Salakia, bro. But this is what they was doing, man. Okay. Jake was tripping hard, They was tripping hard, man. But this way was forced upon Jake, all right, ultimately by Antiochus IV. All right. He didn't have to, force these Jakes, right? These wicked men. But other Israelites, they forced to pretty much submit to the Greek way of life, to be Hellenized. All right. And this is why when you get to the New Testament, okay, you have believers like Timothy who was uncircumcised because his father held on to that Greek way of life. Okay. And Timothy's father was an Israelite. Okay. He just followed the Greek way of life. All right. So reading this real quick, Acts 16, it says, then came he to Derbe and Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman who was a Jewess and believed, but his father was a Greek, meaning what his father followed the Greek way of life, man. All right. And to just, just get a better understanding of this, just put, but his father was an American or a American. That don't mean that he was an Edomite. That just means that he was American now. He followed the way of the Americans. He did what the Americans did, right? Well, the same thing for the Greeks. Timothy's father wasn't an actual Greek by nationality. He was an Israelite, but he just followed the ways of the Greeks. So he considered in the scriptures as a Greek. Okay. It says, which was well reported by the brethren that were at Lystra in Iconium. It says, him would Paul have to go forth with him and took and circumcised him, right? Because of the Jews which were in those quarters, for they knew all that his father was a Greek. So because Timothy's father, all right, was uncircumcised and he followed the Greek way of life, even though his wife was a Israelite, okay, which is kind of strange, right? That this Israelite woman, who followed the ways of our forefathers, she got with Timothy, father, man. Okay, he was a Greek, right? But the Most High, he put couples together, but it's just strange that they got together, right? But he was left uncircumcised because of his father, man. His father wanted him to, appear masculine according to the Greek way of life, right? And that was to leave his son uncircumcised. But see, here, you can see Paul circumcised him because of the Jews in their quarter, all right, in that area. They knew that Timothy was uncircumcised and his father was a Greek, so they were watching Paul, just being demons, man. All right, but also you had Titus, right here in Galatians 2. I'll start in verse 1, right? It says, "Then 14 years after I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, and took Titus with me also. And I went up by revelation and communicated unto them the gospel, which I preach among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run or had run in vain. But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised." All right. He followed the Greek way, all right, until he repented and came unto Yahushua. All right. He was uncircumcised. And the reason being is because of their Greek way of life, But so with that, I'll close out, man. Just some quick information here on what Jake did, that ancient surgical procedure, man, to make themselves uncircumcised, which is crazy. All right. But Allah will live edifying. I'll praise Yahweh by Shem Shai, by Shem Chakadash. Shalom.